You know, right. The podcast that uncovers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in entertainment, media, sports, entrepreneurship, and so much more. Nick Durst here along with Joe Calabrese. And Joe, I want to know, are you ready to capture the crown of this interview? Are you ready to give yourself permission to succeed and pour into your best self? Well, let's create history together with our guest here today. Joe, is Brooklyn in the house?
Hello,
Oh,
hello.
Where's Brooklyn at? Where's Brooklyn at? A former
Hey,
Miss
guys.
America and an entertainment, her experience in entertainment. She's a model. She's a coach. She's everything. She's a former Big Brother player. We're very happy to have her on with us. We formally introduced Brooklyn Rivera to the show. Brooklyn, like I said, where Brooklyn at? How are you?
I am incredible. Happy Friday, whatever day you're watching this. I hope you're having a great day, great weekend. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me, y'all.
Oh, we are very excited to have you joining us. So I need to know, first off, the question that's on everybody's minds. What are your parents' ties to Brooklyn? What made them name you Brooklyn?
Y'all, I really wish I had some cool story back in the day. I'd make one up. My mom was just watching like a telenovela and a soap opera, and she heard the name Brooklyn and it stuck. My sisters have very normal, average names, and I got Brooklyn. So it worked in my favor. I went by Brooke for like half of my life. And I ran into someone in the industry, and they're like, "Don't you ever let anyone call you Brooke again. You go by Brooklyn." And I love my name. I've actually never met someone older than me with the name Brooklyn. So I feel like I can say I'm the oldest Brooklyn around.
From a generation of Brooklyns. I was actually born in Brooklyn. I'm very biased to that name. I've always liked that name for a girl. But where did you grow up?
I was born and raised in Covington, Georgia, a small town south of Atlanta, then moved to Tampa. That's where I met my husband. And shortly after that, we moved to North Dallas, Texas. We've been here almost 13 years. It's where I call home. My little boys were born here. So this is where we will probably stay forever if I have my way.
Joe, of course, you have your Tampa ties. It seems like everybody who cycles through this show has some connection to Tampa. And Brooklyn, you attended the University of South Florida, where you studied to become a teacher at the time. So, what was your experience like there, staying close to home to go to school, big time school though? And at the time, what were your career aspirations to come out of school and become a teacher?
I'm actually a first generation college student and I graduated high school at the age of 16. So I
Wow.
moved into the University of South Florida 2 weeks after graduating because I was accepted into a summer program. And it was an interesting task. I started out in mass communications and then changed into business, then landed into secondary education and never ended up using my degree. So I've done a little bit of substitute teaching, but I really found my passion in entrepreneur, small business. And I've done a lot in the fashion industry, and now I coach for a living. So I am a former Mrs. America, Mrs. Texas, and now I run my own coaching business where I help women across the United States follow their dreams and capture a couple crowns as they do it.
So Nick and I are hockey people. We got to ask quickly.
Yeah.
We worked as an office manager with the Allen Americans Professional Hockey Club in Texas. Are you a sports gal yourself? Do you like hockey? Was that just kind of one of those things where it's like you needed a job at the time and you decided to take on the job?
Well, actually, my hockey journey started in Tampa. I was a Tampa Bay Lightning
There you
girl.
go.
So,
Oh,
Oh, boo!
no, no, not boo. That was in 2011. So that was Steven Stamkos, and it was a great year. That was my introduction into hockey. To be honest, when I first started as a Lightning girl, I knew nothing, like nothing about hockey. I thought we played different countries. I didn't even know America had more than one team. But I learned quick. And when we moved to Dallas, I knew I still wanted to pursue dancing professionally. And I ended up with the Allen Americans for 4 years. I was there for all four consecutive championships of theirs. And I kind of got wrangled into being a front office manager there and helping with the team. I wrote their paychecks, things like that. So it's a really cool world. I'm happy that I was able to learn a lot there. It kind of pushed me into the ops world of things says because I was really decent at my job there. And I knew I'm like, hey, I like spending other people's money. I like helping them do things that doesn't really hurt me if it goes bad. So that's when I started just doing that for other people's business as well.
Wow, Joe. Brooklyn, wherever she goes, the hockey teams are good. Maybe you can
Right.
get her a job with the New York Rangers. So
I know, right? We need her here. We actually need her in Brooklyn.
Well, maybe.
Brooklyn, have you ever been to Brooklyn?
I haven't. Isn't that a shame? So I've been to Sarah
Wow. How about
in
that?
Rochester. I know, I know. I was
Well,
talking.
have you ever been to New York City?
No,
Wow.
no. It's really,
Wow.
I know, I know.
Okay.
So
All right.
Tucker's
Well,
obviously in Brooklyn.
Tucker's in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, and I have a couple friends that are in the city. I coach women that have actually come from the city to me for walking lessons. But no, I've never been. So it's on my list, and it'll probably be Tucker that we pull a family and go see him up.
All right. Well, I think you will most likely be in New York City next summer when the next season of Big Brother premieres. They usually have a premiere party. They bring the past season out there. So that's probably when you'll be out there. But Tucker
And
can give you the rundown in Brooklyn, so we'll see.
maybe, unless it's an all-star season,
Could
and
come, couldn't be.
then
It's all
yeah.
written in the stars. So if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, right, Joe?
Yeah, I agree.
So you mentioned it before. So we have to talk about being named Mrs. America. What was that honor like for you? What was the competition like for you? And turn it back even further. How did you get into pageants? Because you mentioned you did the stuff with the dancing. So was that something that was like a alleyway there that brought you into the pageantry game? Talk to us about your background in pageantry.
Growing up in the South, people do pageants. So
Yeah.
I did like the little girl Miss Cherry Blossom pageant. And then I got out of it because I got married and had children at a young age. And back in the day, you weren't allowed to be married or have children in like the Miss America and Miss USA systems. And in 2019, I found the Mrs. America system and started that pageant journey. So in the dead smack of COVID is when I won Mrs. Texas and went on to win Mrs. America. I competed against 50 of the most beautiful, intelligent, well-rounded women in the world and won my first ever national title. It was my first and only because that was the only time I had competed. And I think it was my professional background in performance that helped me because it wasn't pageant experience. It was experience as a performer and a public speaker that helped me do really well in the Mrs. America system, which is the oldest, most prestigious title that you can win as a married woman. So I'm excited to have the honor to have that on my belt, and now I get to help other women do the same. So that's a little bit about the pageant background.
So talk to us about your company where you're helping coach potential pageantry winners in the future here, 1720 Coaching. How'd you come up with the name? How'd you come up with founding the business? And what's it like running it for you?
1720 coaching is inspired by my favorite Bible verse, which is Matthew 17:20. And it essentially says, faith as small as a mustard seed can move mountains. And that is something that I have lived by my entire life. My husband and I went through infertility problems, and we had a big, long journey there to grow our family. And that is something that I clung to. It was like, as long as I have faith as small as a mustard seed, I can do it. And I knew when I started my coaching business, I had actually had a boutique as well, a clothing company that was 1720 Boutique. And I said, you know what? It's just my brand. It is who I am. And so I stuck with it. And that is something that I pour into the young ladies and women that work with me is like, if you believe in yourself, you can truly do anything. And that's how I went into the Big Brother house. I'm like, this crazy journey, like if I don't believe in myself and believe that I actually can, there's no way that this is going to happen. And I'm just so excited and honored. That was a huge dream of mine. I have been trying to play this game for about 4 years and it just worked. And if it was going to work in any season, I'm really happy that it was this season.
Well, we're going to talk about you going into the Big Brother house in a moment, but I want to know, how has business been since coming out of the house? Are more people contacting you now? Is it maybe interfering your newfound fame with the business? What's everything going on with the business right now post Big Brother?
You know, it's a juggling act. I left about 21 clients that were competing at Mrs. America and Mrs. American, high and dry. Obviously, I couldn't tell anybody
Right.
the real reason why I was leaving. So I did my best to set them up for success in my absence without telling them. So coming back after a summer filled of national pageants where all my clients were competed, this is the ramp up to next season. And I have had an influx of young ladies and women, and I'm just trying to do my best to juggle post Big Brother, but Big Brother's still going on, and also get into the groove of working. I'm back at it. My website's open, so everyone can go to mrsbrooklynrivera.com if you're interested in pageants. I work with women 5 and up. So I don't have a favorite age. My daughter's 13. She does pageants as well. So it is an incredible opportunity. I've enjoyed getting back to it. It is a little tricky. The interwebs are interesting and people sometimes can be silly. So I'm trying to balance, the people that are there to work and there to waste my time that's the balancing act that I'm going through right now.
Quick question from me. Do you think other reality TV shows about pageants and young girls getting into that, uh, do you think it's an accurate portrayal from your perspective?
Reality TV is just that. It's TV. So there is a fine line between what is reality and what is for entertainment. And reality TV is ultimately for entertainment. So I think if you really want to see the true side of it, see it for yourself and do it for yourself. And that is why when people ask me, what do you get out of pageants? And they're just all about beauty and they don't go below the surface. I said, well, have you ever actually spoken to someone that does it? And have you ever been to one yourself? Or are you just looking at what people post and say? Because I will tell you, I work with the most intelligent, most well-rounded women who are doing incredible things for their community every single day. Yes, they're also beautiful and they pride themselves on looking and sounding the part, but they're doing work that few and far between do. And that is something that I'm proud of. And I think that's also why a part of why I was able to make it onto Big Brother is because it's a task to get cast on that show, and you have to have thick skin, you have to know who you are, and you have to be able to relay that message really really quickly to people, and that's what a pageant girl can do.
So let's say you got contacted to come in and be a celebrity or notable judge. Give me your dream panel that's going to be judging the competition with you. You could pick any people you want.
Oh, okay. Well, I would have to choose Taylor Hale. I got roasted for saying her name wrong over and over again. I'm like, y'all, my brain, it's hard. You're under pressure. But I love her. So, fellow BB alum and winner, I would love to judge side by side with her because she also knows the pageant world. I'm gonna go big and say Denzel Washington.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's a
Y'all
good
don't know
one.
enough about me unless you know he is my dream man. Like he is my celebrity crush, which is so silly. And he's just an icon. My husband knows that. So he's like, I know she loves Denzel Washington. So them two. I'll leave it at them two.
Denzel, very suave, sophisticated, one of the best actors, never made a bad movie. Great choice. But you talk
Yeah,
about
so good.
needing thick skin to do the Big Brother auditioning process. It is a grind because you send in a tape, you send in a reel, and then you get callback after callback. There are certain levels of time embedded in between. So, what was it like auditioning? You mentioned you've been doing it for 4 years. Did periodically people just kind of keep hinting to you, like, keep going, keep going? In terms of speaking to people involved in the casting process, the casting director, did people kind of keep in touch with you and say, you should try again, you should try again? How was that ultimately like for you up until getting cast?
My first year trying was COVID 2020, and I submitted the tape before the world shut down, so I wasn't aware of what was going to happen and what was going to unfold. That ultimately ended up being an all-star cast. So that year was kind of a wash. The next year, I believe I had just won Mrs. Texas and then Mrs. America. So I wasn't really even eligible to participate, just under contracts with my organization and then CBS. It wouldn't have worked out. And then the year before last was the first year I even got noticed, I think. I got a message and was like, hey, and it kind of went nowhere. And actually, this year, I didn't make a tape, and it was just kind of meant to be. So it was a mutual of trying over and over and over again, and then being persistent, reaching out, and knowing that this is something that I wanted, and it kind of just all worked out. And you have to prepare yourself to be a cast member, but also prepare yourself to not at the same time. And that's hard. I have, obviously, everyone knows I'm a married mother and I've got a lot of kids. And I was working two jobs. I did work in corporate America as well. People think I was lying about that. I was like, no, I worked for a business firm and also ran my coaching company. So I ended up parting ways with that job, still not knowing exactly if I was going to be casted or not. So it's intense, but you have to just keep on betting on yourself and believing that, you know what, whatever's meant to be is going to be. And it worked in my favor, and I was able to walk through those doors on, mid-July.
That's what you call a leap of faith, Joe.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to take a leap of faith. But I want to know your level of excitement when you found out the exact moment you were going to be on, because they shoot these videos with the key, and sometimes they're great, and sometimes people think they're corny, and you don't have a lot of time, and you kind of got to scramble to pack. What was that moment like, knowing that you were going to be on the show, knowing that the risk that you took off with your career, knowing that you were going to leave your husband and your kids to go win? What was that moment like?
Yeah. People really think we know, and we don't. We know a little bit. We're given hints like, hey, you're doing well, you're in the finals, there's a certain amount of people, but we are not told that it is locked and loaded until a few days before leaving. So we have 48 hours or less to really pack up and to close off our life. And I was just overjoyed. It was a sense of relief, but also another pressure added. It was almost like, okay, I did it, but holy crap, I just did it. And now I have to go. Now I have to leave. I left my daughter, I just mentioned, she was competing in her first national pageant. And that was the day that I call it taken. That was the day I was taken. So I didn't get to see her compete. And she ended up winning. And so I missed her first win. And, that is something we talked about. And I said, we're willing to sacrifice, both of us. I was like, you can do this, I can do this, we're going to do it together. And so people didn't know that my little girl had to do that without me. I'm her coach, I'm her mom.
Right.
And that was really emotional to have to leave her in such a special moment, but to know that it was for a dream of mine as well. So you have to be a little selfish in those moments and go, I know that they will be so proud of me, even though this is going to hurt their hearts too. But I was so excited, so honored, and then also scared poopless. Truly, I was like, what the hell did I just what did I just get myself into? And then you start spiraling. Who is going to be in that house beside you? And what is going to happen? How long are you going to be able to make it? Are you really going to be gone the whole 90 plus days? It's wild.
So how did you make your arrangements in such a short period of time to leave home with your children being there? And how supportive throughout this whole process was your husband? Because obviously, if you're leaving, he's got to step up to the plate even more so with the children than what he already does.
I got roasted. I didn't realize I did till I got out that I had a conversation a couple times that my husband allowed me to go into the house. But I'm like, America, yeah, we've got three small
Right.
kids and we have been married for over a decade. And of course, he allowed me. It was a conversation. And when I say that, it's not that he's controlling, it's just like we had a very
Right.
serious
Something you
conversation.
have to talk about. It's a big thing
Absolutely.
for sure.
He is my biggest fan. So not one time did he say, I don't know if you should do this. No, it's going to be too hard. That's too much on me. He was like, go do it. I've got it covered. I will make it happen. And he did. I mean, he did the rest of summer. He handled the first day of school for a first grader, a third grader, an eighth grader. He did the sign and everything because I'm a type A crazy woman and I do the chalkboard, first day of
Right.
school signs. And he did it all and he handled it really, really well. And so did my kids. They adjusted, they had a schedule. I think that was kind of one of the hard things for me when I did get out of the house and came back home was seeing that I didn't know how to get back into things. He was just running things and they were getting up for school and I was super sleep deprived. And so the first couple days he just let me try to sleep. And I was like, but I've got to get up at 6 and get them. He's like, I got it. I've got it. I'm good. And he had to go sign something at the school. One of my sons has a learning disability. And I was like, oh, I'll go sign it. And he joked, he was like, I don't think you're on the list anymore. And I was like, oh, so that's how I did it. I did it with a bunch of support from him. One of my best friends ran my social media, Amy. I couldn't have done that without her. She was extremely helpful, very protective of me. And then a multitude of other friends, and my mother is in our neighborhood. So they rallied and they allowed me to live out my dream while I didn't have to worry about home.
Yeah, so the social media handoff, everyone always talks about that, but I felt bad. Chemo and Angela totally botched that, keeping their Instagrams on private. So
I know.
missed opportunities there, but
You
what a
know,
for everybody.
this is a little insider. It's told to us to do or not do, to leave it on or leave it off. And I think majority of us kept it on. We had conversations in the house like that. And if they were private, I think people yell. I think Cedric was one that initially was private and he was like, hey, turn it public, y'all. Post it. He was like, wait, yours is public? And I was like, yeah, dude, someone's running that at home. And he's like, oh, man. So, you have to choose your hard. It is hard, and people are wild. So you have to take opinions with a grain of salt. As I like to say, I'd rather sort salt from sugar than have certain conversations with people. And I just choose not to.
Very well said. So for you personally, what did you find to be the best part of the Big Brother house, and what did you find to be the worst part of the Big Brother house?
That's a great question. I think the best part was a mixture of truly making friends. And I know that's so cliche, but I did not go in there to make friends. I didn't. I'll say that point
Right.
blank, period. That was not my goal. I'm a 34-year-old woman. I don't need more friends. I'm good. And the fact that I did was incredible. I can't freaking wait to hug Chelsea and to live life with her. And the competitions, even though I didn't win anything, damn it. Um, Playing them, iconic. I got to play in the spelling bee first week. Like that was a highlight of mine, probably my favorite competition. Hide and go veto. I could go on about that. There's little chaos and behind the scenes that I wish I could tell about that competition that I can't, but that's iconic. And I got to throw some things, which was fun. The hardest part was sleeping. I didn't anticipate the lack of sleep that we would have. You're sleeping 2, 3, 4 hours max a night. And I was in the house for 38 days plus sequester. I was gone for right at 50 days. So that's a long time to go just without a good sleep pattern. And it does, it gets to you and it makes you emotional and it makes you paranoid. And I think I held it in the best I could, but it's hard. It's hard. The lack of sleep is a difficult thing.
Yeah, I could imagine. And listen, you know all about lack of sleep, 3 children, so you know all about that. But I guess Big Brother is just a whole different animal because the
It
lights and stuff.
is. Yeah, you don't want to be the first one to bed. You're all the scheming happens at
Right.
night, especially those first like 3 weeks. That's when you're forming an alliance, and the only time you can is, 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I call him Mr. Big, but Big Brother sees that you're awake. And then next thing you know, it's 3:30 and you're hearing, Brooklyn, please come to the diary room.
Oh wow, 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
Like,
they
ain't
love
no
doing
way
that.
y'all are calling me right now. And I'm like, no problem, coming. Or you'll go to lay down and then it's Brooklyn, please. I'm like, no. No, I just laid down, but
Yep.
that's showbiz.
Boy, it is. Which fellow castmate from this season really impressed you on a game level early on, and who impressed you at a personal level early on?
Impressed me early on. Honestly, Cedric. He was playing an incredible game, going from a downgrade and having such a big personality to just get the whole house to like him. And then pulling out the HOH win week 3. I think he really needed that. Unfortunately, week 4 just didn't go our way. I think that's what happens when boys are in charge and you put your alliance member on the block. It was just silly. But we also didn't know that Quinn was already backstabbing the Pentagon week 2. But he impressed me and he was able to keep his cover. We had no clue that man was in intelligence in the Marines. Like, no, and I am married to a Marine and
Uh-huh.
have my stepson is a Marine. And so I work with veterans with my platform all the time. And so the fact that he was able to hide that from everybody, I know him and Kenny had the conversation, but that's incredible. So he impressed me. Currently, obviously Chelsea and MJ are impressing me. The storyline of MJ is impeccable. I'm so proud of her. And the same goes with Chelsea. I said it on my farewell message to Julie. I was like, I want Chelsea to win. I want her to take the whole thing, and I truly think she can.
Well, as of right now, she's the favorite for $750,000.
Yeah.
And I think she's playing one of the best games I've ever seen a female competitor in the Big Brother house play.
Yeah.
If Quinn didn't try to play all sides, the Pentagon Alliance would have been in the house to the final 6 or 7, and then from there it's every person from themselves a little bit. But you guys, you and Cedric, I think, kind of got a little bit of a raw deal towards the beginning. Now that I'm seeing everything, but you still played great. Any regrets on how you played the game?
At first, I was like, no, no regrets. I don't regret anything. Now that you've had time to digest it, I wish I would have been a little more strategic in diversifying my trust. I put all of my trust in the Pentagon and then the collective. And I should have known, like, I wasn't supposed to know about the collective. And I was like, whenever you're the last person
Right.
in, that's a red flag. But I knew Chelsea and Cam were locked. But I think how I handled being blindsided by Cedric obviously wasn't in my favor, but I was pissed. And I knew I wasn't going to work with Tucker. And so my strategy was let me just paint him as my target and
Right.
maybe that I can get the
Were you
house.
surprised when Tucker was saying you genuinely thought you two were aligned together?
Yeah, I was. I'm like, here's the thing with Tucker, and I love him to death. We are really great friends now. We talk a lot. So he is an incredible person. In the game, he was so difficult to play with. And it came down to, and I told him this, the first couple weeks, no one wanted to work with him, and that's what made him mad. And then he started doing things, and if you weren't with it, he was gonna blow everything up. And I'm like, sir, do you understand you are getting me back for things that you are doing on the side too? Like you're like, you got this alliance and you got this and you're throwing this person on bus. I'm like, so are you. I'm just
Right.
not doing it with you. And now that makes you angry. So
He certainly kept you all on your toes. That's for
oh
sure.
my
Oh
gosh.
yeah.
Yeah. That guy, there was never a normal Monday. And honestly, there hasn't been a normal Monday since. And that's when we did the veto ceremonies in the house and still do. And you know what? He kept it entertaining. I give him credit. He won, those steamrolling those first couple weeks in competitions. It did backfire on him. I can't say that I'm not happy that it was me than him. That kind of was a poetic justice in my head. I know America was sad to see him leave. And honestly, I guess I was turning into like a little Disney villain myself. People enjoyed it. And I think we would have been fun together if we could have gone, all right, let's just do it together. If we had a second chance together, I don't know what would happen. We see.
So me and Joe always debate this back and forth. I have a family. He's a single guy. I always say that if I was on Big Brother, and I wasn't going to win, I would want to go home before the jury because I feel like if I'm just stuck in the jury house, not seeing my family, I don't really care at that point. How did you feel about that? Were you glad in retrospect you went home before having to sit in the jury house, or would you wish you would have gone a little further, knowing you still wouldn't have won?
Again, I think at first I was happy. I was like, you know what? 2 more weeks and I would have made jury, but then how everybody was gunning for me, dang, they thought I was better than I was. I'll be honest, like it wasn't strategic what Chelsea and I were doing at the beginning. It was survival. And I think she has made it strategic since
Mhm.
then. It was truly just survival. Um, so at first I was like, you know what? I would rather be home. God has a purpose, and I was supposed to just watch it from home. Not gonna lie, that quickly went away. About, 2 weeks after being home, I was like, damn, I wish I was there. And I wish I could have experienced it all, like even the jury house. And I've made some great friends with some BB alums here, Kat Dunn and Elena and Jessica Nicholson and Nixon. And, a couple of them made jury and a couple didn't. And so hearing their experiences, it's just a part of it. So, yeah, I wish I would have at least had a say and got to put a key in, but I am so excited that I still get to be there with my fellow pre-jury members on finale night and at least get to see one of our family members win $750,000.
So it sounds like you're most excited to see Chelsea. Is that correct? When you're there?
Most on the scale of excited to not, the top five, I'm excited for all of them. Truly, I think, spoiler alert, the top five that is now there right now, very, very happy with, but it would go Chelsea, MJ, Cam, uh, Chemo, Rubina. And so I'm happy with the outcome that happened this week. I do love them all dearly, truly. And I know people are getting like annoyed at our cast. I'm like, honestly, we were the most
No,
unserious cast ever,
no, no,
but
no.
much we like.
The veto has been used every single time. You guys were
Yeah.
amazing television,
Well, thank
unbelievable
you. But
television.
I'm hearing like they're like they all actually like each other, man. I'm like,
That's a
yeah,
problem too.
you.
The old Big Brother days, everybody used to legitimately
I
not
know.
like each
I'm
other and
like,
fight.
no.
Now everybody's too buddy buddy.
Yeah, even the frenemies in the house right now, and Tucker and I mean, even Angela and it's fine. It's silly. Like, I can't wait to send her a meat and cheese board. You know what? I'm gonna make one today. You all just wait. I got a video coming. Um,
Okay.
Is
oh,
it, is it Angela? Is Angela lives in Texas?
no, she lives in Utah.
Oh, okay, all right, all right.
Yeah, MJ McKinsey
And
is.
lives in Texas.
Kenzie's
Yeah.
that construction worker, that monster from
Mhm.
Texas.
Comp Beast. Comp
She's a
Beast.
calm
Her,
piece.
her and Chelsea.
Wait, do you think Chelsea has a chance with Cam? Because the Zingbot was very harsh this year.
Oh man, the Cam and Chelsea saga. So I don't know how much people saw of me, but I was their mediator, guidance counselor a lot. And so they used me in the evenings, and they are fake married. And so I would be their counselor and they would come to me for therapy every day. And you know what? Whether I know that they will be incredible friends, I do know that they both enjoy each other's company and in the house. I also know that they weren't going to make any actual like romantic moves. Both of them have said that multiple times. They were just not interested in a showmance inside the house. So I'll leave it up to them. I don't know. I've been gone for a couple weeks, so I see what I see, but Chelsea's an incredible woman. She hasn't had many relationships, and honestly, neither has Cam. They've both been very open at their lack of actual relationships outside the house. So, I would love to see it. I would love to see them together. I would love to see Rubina and Tucker stay together because I mean, I want to go to some weddings. I want
Oh
to,
well, Tucker's very gaga over
oh
Ravina,
my
even
gosh. He,
still.
he, he loves Tubina. And she did too. And that was also, I went in and I encouraged all of it. There were times Rubina and I would chat, and I'm like, you know what? Just do it. Just do
Yeah,
it.
I mean, you guys create some entertainment for yourself, you know. So
Yeah. Word. I'm like, whatever.
She
Y'all
tried to
are wrong.
get everybody into the showmance thing because you know what happens with showmances. Just it's the
Yeah.
way of the world in the
you
Big
get knocked
Brother
out.
house. That's right.
Well, at least listen, Brooklyn. At least with your gameplay, you didn't pull a pooch and allow yourself to go on the block and go home, like Cedric and
Mhm.
Tucker. So you're smart enough there. And everybody, no one's gonna when people are gonna learn the lesson, Joe. Do not allow
Yeah.
yourself to go on the block.
Cons go home. That was something I made promises to myself before going in. It was never volunteer. I also said I would never throw something, which I did break that. But I thought it was best for my game at the time. And I wasn't trying, I was not going to volunteer for slop, which I didn't. So that was great
Yeah,
too.
that's
So
the way to
I was,
go.
there were
That's the
certain
way to
things I
go.
was like, I don't want to do that. And
Yeah.
so I'm proud of myself. Again, I wish I would have made it a couple weeks longer and got into jury. If obviously top five winning, that was a dream come true. But I am so proud of the people that are there, and I'm rooting for Chelsea.
In your life or your career, what would you say is your you know I'm right moment? What I mean by that, at the time or place where you wanted to pursue something, you asked somebody for advice. They said, Brooklyn, don't do that. That's a terrible idea. It's not going to work out. And you were like, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. And in the end, you will see why it is that I'm right about this. And I can tell you, I told you so.
Mm. I think it was starting my own business during COVID, right before it. It was, hey, you've got a great thing going. I was working with a company that supported me in the fashion world. And I said, you know what? I can do this myself. I don't need help. I'll be more successful if I can make my own rules and answer to me. And they were like, why would you leave a good thing? And I said, to be better. If you're not growing, you're dying, is what I say, and always bet on yourself. And I love proving people wrong. I have done that my entire life. I come from a low income family, and the odds were stacked against me at a really young age. And I've had a lot of people to my face tell me, good thing you're book smart because your street smarts will get you nowhere. And I said, okay, want to bet? And so I pride myself on proving people wrong a lot and showing people that you're more than just a pretty face. And I think even with Big Brother, there were things that were said about me before I even walked into the house. And I just enjoyed looking back now at some of those comments and some of the people that were like, you know what? Damn, I didn't want to like her, but she proved me wrong. And I enjoy doing that, and I encourage other people to do the same. So I say, tell me I can't do something and I'll do it and take a picture while I do it.
Great words of advice. Nick and I are from New York, so we appreciate street smarts.
Yeah.
Only definitely so. Last couple questions from me, Brooklyn, and then we'll let you go. As a city person, Nick mentioned before, I do have Florida ties, especially the Tampa area. My uncle moved to Wesley Chapel a couple years ago. I have a cousin who moved south west by closer to St. Pete. Got family in Orlando, so I kind of know that central western area of Florida, all along I-4 quite well. But you're in Texas now. You know, I've always thought about moving south. I love good barbecue. Uh, what would you say to anybody like me who would maybe consider moving south one day and leaving the miserable winter weather of New York behind?
You will not regret it. I pride myself on trying to get every single person I know to move to Texas. Texas is its own country, really. We love it. You will never meet a Texan that will say something bad about Texas. We are stubborn as hell. We think that our state is the best, and it's because it is. I've lived in Georgia, Florida. I visited all over the United States as Mrs. America. And I will tell you that, especially if you're going to raise a family, North Texas is the best place to be. We have all four seasons. We also have tornadoes and hail and ice storms, but we shut down. So if it's even we even think it's going to snow, we're closed. So you just stay home. It's fine. It's great here. We love it. Southern hospitality is a real thing. If you lived on my street, you would be added to a group chat. And if you needed a can of tomatoes or anything, you just send a kid to my door and they're like, Miss Brooklyn, my mom needs this. So it truly is
Love that.
the best place in America. I love it. I never want to leave.
Absolutely love that. I've never been to Texas. I would love to go someday, so hopefully soon. My last question is I'm a spiritual person, so for the right people, we always ask this question. Well, actually, we'll try to guess it. Your zodiac sign. Nick, you want to go first?
I don't know.
You only know like three signs
I'll
though.
guess Taurus. I have no idea.
I was gonna say you're an earth sign, so Capricorn or Taurus, only because you're very career oriented.
I am a Taurus.
Ah, no way!
Ah, no way.
Wow, I
Yes,
just
When is
guessed
when
it.
is when is your may I ask when your birthday is?
May 20th. So I'm on the line. I'm a
I'm
Taurus.
also
Oh,
Gemini.
wow. Oh, I don't think you even, well, your husband's a military man, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
In military time, 520 is 1720.
Wow.
Oh my
Wow,
gosh.
Joe.
Nobody has ever told you that before, huh?
No one has ever pointed that out. Oh
Oh,
my
there
gosh.
you go.
Juicies. There we go. Man,
Joe.
I keep saying, Nick, I keep telling you, this crap is written in the stars. When are you going to start figuring it out?
man, that just made my day. Oh wow.
Yeah, hell
I am
yeah.
here. And that, I mean, it's been years and years. My first business, my boutique, was in 2019, 2020. And that's when we adapted that name. But we had that, gosh, that verse since 2015 when we were doing fertility treatments.
Wow,
Wow.
that's unbelievable. And you're only a few days behind Nick. He's
Okay.
a little later in the month. He's the 25th.
And then my daughter, the Cinco de Mayo birthday. She's five
Uh-oh.
months.
Hey, born on a
Taurus.
holiday. Yeah, so Nick is May 25th. He's a Gemini. We don't love Geminis. They're
Yeah.
two-faced people, right?
Brooklyn was almost a Gemini. She could have been.
Could have been. But thankfully she's a Taurus. And yeah, go to your husband, 1720 military time. The name of your company. How amazing is that?
That's incredible. Meant to be. Meant to be.
It is meant to be. Everything is meant to be. Well, Brooklyn, we thank you for your time. We really, really appreciate it. This interview was meant to be. We wish you the best of luck, you and your family moving forward. Congratulations on your Big Brother experience. Show up on finale night. We'll be watching. You
Thank
mentioned your website before, so where else can we find you on social media? And once again, appreciate your time. We always give our guests the last word. So if you have anything else on top of that to share, by all means, go ahead.
Thank you so much. It's a true honor. It was a lifelong dream of mine to play the game of Big Brother. I am happy that I got to have the opportunity, and I hope it is not the last time that you see me on your television screens. We'll see what happens next, but I am open and accepting of any opportunity that comes my way that will benefit myself and my family. So you can mrsbrooklynrivera.com for coaching, and then socially it's just Mrs. Brooklyn Rivera, MRS Brooklyn Rivera on Instagram. You'll see a lot of cooking and family stuff, some comedic little treats here and there too. My husband and I like to do stuff. So I just appreciate the opportunity and just wish everyone the best.
Brooklyn, thank you so much for your time. This has been a lot of fun, and that's going to do it here for this episode of You Know I'm Right. For our very special guest, Brooklyn Rivera, my co-host Joe Calabrese, I'm Nick Durst, and this has been You Know I'm